What if you could get in front of other audiences filled with your ideal clients for free? Well, you can, and it's called guest podcasting. Guest podcasting is where you are a guest on somebody else's podcast and you share value to their audience, and in return, you're getting in front of their audience for free. So how do you actually do it? Well, I created a step-by-step process that gets me booked on 4 or more podcasts every single month, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I do it. The first thing you wanna do is make a criteria list of the types of podcasts that you'd like to be a guest on. So ask yourself, what types of podcasts does your ideal client listen to? Then set some criteria for the podcast that you will and will not pitch to. Personally, I recommend setting a minimum number of episodes and reviews that a podcast must have in order for you to pitch them. And keep in mind, the lower amount of episodes and reviews, typically the lower amount of downloads and audience that a podcast will have. For example, when my VA and I first started this process, we set a minimum of 5 reviews or more per podcast that we were willing to pitch. But after we got more and more podcasts and our pitch grew stronger and stronger, we actually moved our criteria up to a minimum of 20 reviews per podcast. And I would absolutely recommend that you do the same. Start with the bar lower, and as your pitch gets better and better and you get more and more podcast interviews under your belt, then you can start to set the bar and the criteria higher and higher. All right, the second thing you want to do is to use that criteria to start to form a list of podcasts that you are going to pitch to. And I would highly recommend starting a spreadsheet to keep track of all of this information as you go. Then what you're going to do is you're going to use the Apple Podcast app or something similar to start your search. So the easiest way to go about this is if you have one podcast in mind that you know you want to be on, use the app to find that podcast. Then you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and it will say podcasts you might also like, and it will have a lot of other similar podcasts. And then you can repeat this process over and over to find all of those podcasts that you could potentially pitch to. Now, if you don't already have a podcast in mind to start with, then you can start by searching, going to the category of podcasts you want to be on, finding a podcast that looks interesting, and then repeating this process from there. This is exactly what we do, and the cool thing is that once you have this process nailed down, you can document it and then you can hand it off to somebody on your team, like a VA, and that's exactly what I have done. So now every single week, my VA finds 10 podcasts to send our pitch to. So this way we end up sending our pitch to about 40 podcasts every single month. And typically we book about 10% or more, and that's how I'm able to get on 4 or more podcasts every single month. And the cool thing is that now that we know that data, we can scale our pitches up or down depending on the number of podcasts I want to be on per month, and you can do that too. All right, so the third thing you want to do is actually create your pitch. Your pitch is what you will email to other podcasts to see if you're a good fit on their podcast and to see if they want to have you on their podcast as their guest. Now, when you're writing your pitch, always keep in mind that you are selling them on having you as a guest on their podcast. So always lead with what is going to be in their best interest and help them to have you on their podcast. So here's what I've included in my pitch template. So the first thing I do is I start off by telling them who I am. Then I share with them my website so they can go to it, check it out further if they want to. Then I share how many followers I have, what is my experience, and what I do and what value I have to share with their audience. This part is very important. Again, it's always going to be about the person and business that you're pitching. Then I go ahead and I list out 6 topics I could talk about on their podcast. And I even promote them with the actual titles. I do all the work for them so that it makes it easy for them to say yes to my pitch. Again, the more you can do for them to make this a no-brainer for them, like, oh wow, the titles are already done, the topic's already done, the questions already done, it's gonna make it so much easier for them to say yes to having you on their podcast. Then I share some of the top podcast episodes that I've been on to just show with them that I have experience with this. They can go listen to the other episodes if they want to get to know me and my business better. Then I share that I will, of course, be happy to share the episode out to my audience along with all of my audience stats so they know that they are going to be able to get in front of my audience as well. And remember, do what you can with what you have, okay? So if you don't have all these pieces and parts yet, that's okay. Just make it the best pitch you can with what you have, and you can add on as you go. You can add on episodes you've been on. You can add on reviews, testimonials. You can add on how big your audience is. All of that stuff you can continue to add on and evolve your pitch as you go and as you grow. Oh, and if you want to see my exact word for word pitch template, check it out in the description below. You can download it completely for free. All right, so now that you have your criteria, list of podcasts you want to pitch, and your actual pitch, now it's time to start emailing these podcasts so you can potentially be a guest on their podcast. And all you're going to do is you're going to find the contact information of the podcast that you want to pitch. You're going to simply tweak your pitch email to be as specific to that particular podcast and business owner as possible. And then you're simply going to send out your pitches and wait. So once again, once I nailed down this process, I handed it over to my VA, and she's in charge of every single part of this process. My job is simply to review the podcast that she wants to pitch every single week so I can make sure that they're podcasts that I would like to be on. And of course, my other job is to actually show up and add value to these podcasts as well. And that's something I would highly recommend for you as well. If you are able to have a VA or you already have somebody on your team that can help you, document this process in a document or a spreadsheet, and then you can hand it over to somebody on your team so that they can stay consistent with it so you can consistently be a guest on podcasts, which is going to consistently send traffic to wherever you want it to go to. Not only has being a guest on podcasts got me in front of more of my ideal clients, grown traffic to my website, but it has also exponentially grown our sales as well. I personally sell digital products like ebooks and courses, and sending more traffic to our website and offers increases our sales. So the cool thing is that I'm actually in turn getting paid to speak on these podcasts, because I know that if I add value to this audience, they're naturally going to want to come and find my offers, and some of them are going to purchase my offers, which allows us to increase the revenue of our business, and in turn, I get paid to speak. And listen, you don't have to sell digital products like me. Being a guest on podcasts will increase your traffic to anything you want to increase traffic to. Now that you know my step-by-step process for getting booked as a guest on podcasts, this alone won't get you as much traffic as if you combined it with growing your following on social media on places like TikTok and Instagram. But how do you do that? Well, it all starts with watching this video right here, because when you combine guest podcasting with growing your social media following, it is 10 times more powerful. See you in the next video.